The acrid stench of my burned house was still in my hair when she strutted into my courtroom like she owned the place. There I sat, Judge Miriam Blackwood, black robes, gavel in hand, staring at the woman who'd just committed arson against a sitting federal judge. The sheer audacity of it made my teeth clench. But Brinn Ashworth Sterling had no idea what she just walked into. See, when you torch a judge's home, you'd better pray she doesn't get the chance to return the favor legally. And honey, I was about to serve up a 5-course meal of justice with a side of life in prison. This HOA Karen thought burning down my house would shut me up. Instead, it lit a fire under me that would consume her entire criminal empire. Every illegal fine, every fraudulent claim, every intimidation tactic, I had it all documented. What would you do if the person who destroyed your life just handed themselves to you on a silver legal platter? Stay tuned, because this revenge gets brutal. 6 months before my house became a crime scene, I was just a woman trying to survive the worst year of her life. I'd buried my husband, Harold, after watching cancer devour him piece by piece. Our 1940s craftsman home in Pinewood Estates felt like a mausoleum. Pinewood used to be a place for teachers and blue-collar families. Then the money moved in. McMansions replaced ranch homes, and the neighborhood standards became a weapon for gentrification. The queen bee of this new army was Brinn Ashworth Sterling. Imagine an entitled suburban nightmare in designer athleisure with a god complex. She drove a silver Tesla that cost more than my annual salary and spent her days elevating Pinewood, which really meant getting rid of anyone she deemed undesirable. My first encounter with her happened while I was installing a memorial fence for Harold. It was our final project together, a 6-foot sanctuary for his prize roses. The crunch of expensive boots on autumn leaves announced her arrival. "You must be the widow," she said. No condolences, just cold assessment. "Judge Blackwood," I corrected. "Right, the judge. I'm Brinn, HOA president. We have a problem." She snapped open a pink tape measure. 6 feet 2 inches. Our regulations state a 6-foot maximum. That's a $500 violation plus immediate removal. I stood up, my bones aching. "Show me that regulation." She couldn't. It didn't exist. I'd hired a surveyor to ensure it was exactly 6 feet. But as she huffed away, I realized something. 3 years ago, I'd ruled against a company called Sterling Premium Builders for trying to scam an 80-year-old veteran. That was Brinn's husband. This fence dispute? It was a vendetta. But Brinn had made a critical error. She had targeted a woman who'd spent 20 years sentencing career criminals. I had nothing left to lose and a complete understanding of how to weaponize the law. The psychological warfare began 2 weeks later. Manila envelopes started arriving daily. Violation number 1, Harold's memorial stone. Apparently, grief monuments violated the aesthetic. Violation number 2, my mailbox color. Violation number 3, bird feeders. Brinn claimed my cardinals were a nuisance. I spent my nights in Harold's basement office building a counterattack. I filed complaints with the Real Estate Commission and documented every illegal fine. But while I was downtown sentencing criminals, Brinn was busy committing her own. My security cameras caught her trespassing in my backyard with her entourage, an interior designer and a personal trainer acting as inspectors. They were manufacturing evidence. In my world, we call that conspiracy to commit fraud. Then, my neighbor, Walt Henderson, knocked on my door. "Judge, she's targeting everyone. The Rodriguez family moved because she fined them $800 over a garden statue. She fined a single mom for her kid's sidewalk jock." The pattern was clear. Brinn was running a systematic harassment campaign against minorities, single mothers, and the elderly. It was discrimination wrapped in HOA bureaucracy. But then, Brinn crossed a line that turned this from a legal battle into a war. My security footage showed Brinn yanking my back gate open and leaving it unlatched. When I got home, my cat, Gavel, was missing. Gavel was Harold's final gift to me. He'd sat on Harold's lap during every chemo treatment. I found him 3 days later in an animal emergency room. His ribs were broken. He'd been chased by high-powered leaf blowers into a storm drain. Brinn's landscaping crew had terrorized him through the gate she left open. That was the moment I stopped being a referee and became an executioner. I filed criminal charges for animal cruelty and trespassing. I called the local news. The headline, Judge versus HOA, went nuclear. Suddenly, salvation arrived in the form of Patricia Donnelly, a retired FBI veteran who'd been conducting her own surveillance on Brinn. Pat laid out photographs on my table that made my heart stop. Judge, Brinn Ashworth Sterling doesn't exist. Pat showed me IDs for Rebecca Ashworth in California, Beth Sterling in Phoenix, and Sandra McKenzie, a federal prisoner ID from Detroit. Brinn was a professional community destroyer. She'd stolen over $4 million in a decade by infiltrating HOAs, embezzling funds, and torching high-value properties for insurance payouts. She wasn't just harassing me, she was using the drama as a distraction while she drained the HOA emergency fund and prepared to burn my house down. Her husband's company had even filed for bankruptcy after a tax evasion scandal. The most terrifying part? Pat found architectural plans for my house in Brinn's files marked with electrical vulnerabilities and optimal fire acceleration patterns. She'd researched Harold's life insurance upgrades. She knew the rebuild value was $320,000. But Brinn made one fatal mistake. She was a federal fugitive operating under a stolen ID while technically still in witness protection. The violation alone carried 10 years. I turned my kitchen into a federal war room. We had a RICO expert, an FBI contact, and a neighborhood intelligence network led by Walt. We discovered Brinn's true business model: harass residents until they sell below market value, then flip the homes to investor contacts for double commissions. While we built the case, the unthinkable happened. One Tuesday afternoon, while I was on the bench, my phone buzzed with an emergency alert. My house was on fire. The arson investigator found accelerants in the attic. Brinn thought she'd won. She thought the evidence was ash. What she didn't know was that Pat had upgraded my security system to federal standards. We had 4K footage of Brinn's husband entering my crawl space with a canister of gasoline. Fast forward to the courtroom. Brinn walked in smelling like expensive perfume and hubris, thinking she was there for a simple hearing. She didn't notice the FBI agents in the back row. I leaned over the bench, looking her dead in the eye. "Miss McKenzie," I said, using her real name. The blood drained from her face so fast she nearly fainted. I didn't just recuse myself, I handed over a mountain of evidence that triggered a multi-state federal prosecution. Brinn Ashworth Sterling, or whoever she was that day, was sentenced to life without parole for arson of a judicial residence, RICO conspiracy, and mail fraud. Her husband followed her to a different facility. The HOA was dismantled, the stolen funds were recovered, and Gavel, who fully recovered, is currently purring on my lap in my newly rebuilt Craftsman home. Justice isn't always fast, but when a judge makes it personal, it's permanent. If you've ever had a run-in with an HOA from hell, tell me your story in the comments. And if you want to see more stories of Karens meeting their legal match, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.